Onegaishimasu! Welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. Today we'll be discussing karate and how we explain it to civilians. I recently was at a family function and an aunt that kept asking the same questions over and over again. And I figure we all have someone in our lives who wants to know more about what we do, but we don't always have the words to explain it to them. So I'm going to touch on a bunch of topics, which will hopefully be helpful to explain to your dojo parents why it is we do things the way we do. And because we also all get tired of being asked, how's Taekwondo going? It seems like a very arcane and mystic thing from the outside, and Hollywood hasn't helped either in creating new stereotypes about karate and the people that practice it. So let's start off. What's the difference between a school and a federation, or a style and a federation? If you think of karate, and this may be applicable to other martial arts, but I'm going to stay in my lane and talk about karate. The style, or the ryu, is the school which you fall under. So think of karate as burgers. Now you get lots of kinds of burgers. You get cheeseburgers, you get double-decker burgers, you get bunless burgers, you get vegetarian burgers, you get all sorts of varieties. So, and all the different ryus or styles, underneath that is different types of burgers. So we're all fundamentally the same, but with lots of different flavors and lots of different toppings and lots of different ingredients and histories and chefs. When we talk about federations, we're talking often about the badges on the gi. So we belong to OGKK, Okinawan Goju Karate-do Kyokai, and we have our head office in Naha and Okinawa, and our lineage goes back to Chojun Miyagi, who is the founder of Goju Karate. And someone tells you they belong to OGKK or JKA, those are usually the federations they belong to. A federation comes after your school. So once you have a style, karate, then comes your federation, and your federation encompasses things from the badge, to the syllabus, to what you're allowed to teach, what you're not allowed to teach, how you teach it. So all of those things are often dictated to by your federation. A federation also means opening doors to train with higher caliber instructors. That's what it should mean. So for us having this badge means that we can walk into OGKK dojos in Okinawa, well, obviously with arrangement beforehand. You don't just show up, but it does mean that we have access to a wide range of very high level instructors. And likewise, it acts as kinds of checks and balances to make sure that we are all doing the right and sensible thing. It does help cut down on rogue dojos. It does kind of keep people accountable when they belong to a badge and they have to uphold a certain image. Some people are independent, so they don't have lineage, or they used to have lineage, and they choose, for many reasons, not to belong to a federation. It's not inherently bad if you go up to a dojo and they don't have a badge, but it does mean that's a little bit more of an unknown quantity. For example, by walking into our dojo and seeing Shei's Shibo license on the wall, they know that, this is a qualified instructor, has the blessing of Okinawa to teach karate as close to the source as possible. So we're always trying to offer an authentic karate. This is what we do, and this is what we're proud of, and this is what we focus on. While we're close to the topic of Okinawa, so a lot of people think karate was invented in Japan, but it actually comes from the island of Okinawa by a bunch of different founders who were all colleagues at the time sharing their ideas. Jishin Funakoshi, the founder of Shotokan, took karate to the mainland and presented it, and so did Chojun Miyagi, also presented to the emperor. And this is how karate became one of Japan's biggest exports in terms of soft power. And as Shay mentioned in a previous video, a lot of the grappling and groundwork of karate as it was taught in Okinawa in Bunkai was left behind because there already was a style for that, and that was judo and jiu-jitsu. So karate became the main striking and kicking export for Japan, but its roots and its home very much is in Okinawa, which is why if you go to Okinawa, you are going to the original source. Funakoshi himself was not Japanese, he was an Okinawan man. Arguably, one of the most famous things about karate is the black belt. You know, it's one of the plot things in Karate Kid, taking the black belt out of the bag to enter the competition because it was a big elite competition, only black belts could enter. And there's very much a disconnect between how the black belt is viewed in the West versus how it's viewed in the East. So in Japan, usually a black belt is attained in a shorter period of time because they train more than we do. It's not as twice a week, 1 hour class, come and go. Whereas in Okinawa, the dojo opens at 5 or 6 o'clock and it stays open till 10, and people train 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, multiple days a week. So they get through way more material than we do. And that's why the journey to black belt is short. Shodan means first step, first degree. So it just means master of basics, essentially. It's the opening of the buffet to you once you are ready to understand more complicated karate. Whereas in the West, we've got this idea that black belt is the be-all and end-all. Once you've got a black belt, you've mastered karate, and now you can teach, and now you are a self-defense expert, and you're untouchable. And the problem is that incorrect understanding what the black belt means. The black belt just means that you've done some time, you know enough, we can start teaching you the really hardcore stuff that we can't really show to people who are white and yellow belt and don't have the control or the sense of the responsibility of what we're teaching. That's why our dojo doesn't give black belts out to anyone younger than 14. And even that, it's a junior black belt. They're not wearing a full solid black belt until they're at least 16. You might have family members who are so impressed by the black belt, and I look at my black belt and I've got so far to go. I've got so much to learn. I'm only a third dan, compared to my husband who's been doing karate for 42 years. This is nothing. So there's very much that disconnect between what a black belt means. Is it still special? Absolutely. When done right, the black belt is very special. It represents all those weekends that you never went to birthday parties, and represents all those evenings you went to the dojo when it was cold, when it was hot, when you were tired, when you were overworked. All those years of sacrifice, all those years of constant feedback, taking on the feedback, improving. For me, the black belt means all of those things and more. For someone like me who was never considered a gifted athlete, who was always written off as the last kid picked for sport, a super nerd, me getting a black belt and enduring an extremely grueling physical grading, it meant the world to me, and it still does. Your Shodan grading is always going to be the most special grading. Nidan and Sandan were nerve-wracking, but not as by the next week I was like, okay, whatever, now I'm a second dan or a third dan. But when I got my Shodan, I felt like my life had changed. And I'd finally accomplished something that I never thought I'd be able to do. So yes, I do think the black belt is still special. It just sucks that it's been cheapened by people giving it out to no one. I hate the idea of an honorary black belt. If you haven't done time on the mat, you don't deserve a belt. I don't care how much work you've done administratively. The black belt still has to represent your karate knowledge. And that might be a controversial statement, but I also don't think we should be giving out things that people haven't earned, and especially in the martial arts world. Titles. So you'll often hear a couple of titles in the dojo. Let's start with the most obvious one, sensei. Technically, sensei just means the one who has gone before, which means the same thing as teacher or elder or mentor. If you're not sure, when you see a black belt who's of moderate age and you want to be respectful, address them as sensei. If they're sane, humble people, they'll be like, no, please, it's just Zoe. I don't like it when people call me sensei outside of these four walls. My title doesn't exist out there at Checkers or Pick and Pay when I'm shopping. Please, it's just Zoe. I keep telling the parents this. I'm not particularly special. Sensei just means I've done time in the dojo and I've worked very hard for that title. But I think it's weird when you start using those titles outside of their designated spaces. So you'll often see people using titles like Shihan, Kyoshi, Renshi, and Hanshi. Now those are supposed to be official titles given by the Dai Nippon Botokukai or by an overarching organization in Japan, in Okinawa. But people will often use them interchangeably, or they'll use them for people who don't really deserve them. I feel like titles are actually something we really need to start stripping out of karate, because it's one of those things that, rightfully so in many cases, makes us a laughing stock of other arts. Because you get people walking around calling themselves Kyoshi, but haven't actually done any randori or sparring for the last 20 years. So I think the only title we need is sensei, because it's a logistics title, that's the person in charge of teaching the classes at this dojo. The only other title we have in our dojo is deshi or uchi deshi. All-time viewers of the channel will know that Brian has finished his deshi-ship and he's got the title of sensei, which is quite cute because he still is not used to hearing people call him sensei. They've been calling him deshi for 3 years. So also took me a while to get used to being called sensei after being called deshi for a really long time. Sport versus traditional karate. So there's often this misconception that karate was made by peasants. It wasn't, because peasants and farmers and fishermen don't have time to do karate for 8 hours a day. They actually have to make a living and subsistence farm and fish. So karate as we understand it now was invented by Funakoshi, Miyagi, Ken Wamabuni, and a bunch of, like a whole superstar tag team of men. They designed it to be a way to build physical strength, a way to defend yourself, because crime in Okinawa was bad back then, because Okinawa was very poor. A way to defend yourself without weapons, but it was never intended to be for scoring points. It was very antithetical to the root of karate. We've discussed this in a much longer video about the benefits and the pros and cons of sports karate, but for me it is important to delineate that traditional karate is over here and sports karate is over there, and on that Venn diagram of karate there's very little overlap. We don't do sports karate that much in our dojo in the full sense of WKF point scoring karate. We do 90% traditional karate, and then we have a small class on a Friday afternoon for those who are interested in putting their toe into sports karate. But we don't do it because our focus, and to truly encompass and do everything we need to do in a traditional syllabus, there just isn't time to touch on sports karate. Okay, let's talk about religion in martial arts. So I have a very well-meaning aunt who keeps asking, like, yeah, but do you guys meditate, or do you have to do something spiritual to get to black belt? And it's absolutely not part of what we do. I can't speak for all dojos, but the majority of dojos, and from my experience in Okinawa and Shay's experience in Okinawa, religion is not a part of karate. The bowing to the shaman, to the picture of the founder, is not a form of worship. We're not praying and asking him to look over our families while we sleep. It's more that we are saying thank you for the knowledge that you have imparted to us, and we hope to make you proud as we train in the dojo under your watchful eye, kind of thing. But there's no praying, you can put meditation sometimes with mokuso, which is kind of like a focus, like the line-up mokuso, everyone stands, closes their eyes for a few seconds. It's more of a focusing thing. I wouldn't call it real meditation, because meditation is not 30 seconds. So if you are worried about that, if you are a Christian and you're worried about the bowing, you just need to know that it's not from a place of worship, it's not from a place of belief. We bow to each other because it's way more hygienic than shaking hands, but also it's a nice way of saying, please help me. People bow everywhere in the shops in Japan. They bow when I had a really wonderful moment. We were walking away from one of our planes in transit, and no one was watching, but the guy with the flag who was guiding the plane out, he just bowed nicely to the plane to say good luck on your journey, and wishing the plane and its passengers well, which I thought was beautiful. He wasn't bowing to the plane to pray to it, he was just wishing it well. And I think we have to remember that multiple things can be true at once, and just because it's something that happens in one culture, that we only bow in church or bow our heads to pray, doesn't necessarily happen in another culture. So what should parents know about karate? One, karate takes a long time. To do it well, takes a long time. So statistically, your kid's not going to make it to black belt, because 95% of the people who walk in here don't make it to black belt. Karate's hard, it requires a long commitment over time. And who commits to anything these days for more than 6 months before they get tired of it? There will also be other demands on your child's time. In fact, the number one reason kids have been quitting karate lately is because of homework. They just have no time for extramurals. So as a parent, I need you to know that if you want the black belt and you want all the benefits of karate, this is for the long haul. Yes, some kids will see an amazing improvement in their discipline and their focus in that in a couple of months. And yes, sometimes that's all you're here for, and that's okay. Not everyone has to become a black belt. If you want the black belt, great. But if you also just want your kid to enjoy doing something and to learn a new skill and learn how to defend themselves and shout at the school bully, great. That's a lot of what we do. For adults, karate is great as a way to meet new people, get out the house, do something that's fitness orientated, and learn a new skill, which is great for slowing down dementia, especially the older you are. Karate is great for that left-right brain crossing, and that really helps build new gray and white matter. Is it too late to start? No, it's often too early to start karate, but it's never too late to start karate. We have people who've joined us in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s, and who've enjoyed their karate more than they would have maybe in their 20s. But we're often seeing it now, like we had a girl quit this week who has been in the dojo since our movement. We used to have a movement ed program from when she was 3 until now she's 11. 8 years and no black belt. It's a long time to be in the dojo. Her journey with us has come to an end for now. But the door will always be open and students can always come back. And that's an important thing as an instructor, is just to keep your door open. Because people will often come back. We have, this year alone, we've had 5 or 6 of Shay's old students come back from that used to train with him when they were kids. And now their kids have grown up and they've got a bit more time again, and they've always missed the dojo, and now the time is right for them to return. So it's important to keep that door open. It's always important to leave on good terms. What do you need to join a dojo? So the first thing you need to do is to find the dojo that's right for you. See if you could try some free classes first before you sign up, because you need to get a feel for the dojo, you need to get an idea of the vibe, the quality of instruction, the kind of office culture, as it were, for lack of a better term. Is it an intense dojo? Is it more laid back? Is it more inclusive? Is it for elite athletes only? These are important things to know before you sign up. And then once you've approached a dojo, usually the correct thing to do is, even if you've got experience in that style or in another art, you should always rock up in a white belt, because it's an assumption on your part that your knowledge and experience is relevant to that dojo. It's hard to tell a kid who's gotten a purple belt in Shotokan that they can't have their purple belt in a Goju-Ryu dojo. So what we often do is we let them keep their rank, but then they may have to wait a year or 2 before they grade again, because they've got to relearn a whole bunch of different kata. But no, you can't come with your black belt from Muay Thai and expect that I'm going to let you keep your black belt here. You will have to start from white again. And if you're not willing to do that, then maybe this isn't the right place for you. Karate, not that complicated, but not that easy to do. I hope that explains a lot of things for you, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I will try to get to them one day. I know I'm 6 months behind on comments, but if you're still watching this far, then you're a big fan of the channel, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Arigato gozaimasu. Sayonara.